D, wait for it, light bulb.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So, I'm going to be doing a review for Doom Patrol episodes 1 through 3 in this episode, but I just want to say this is a little bit late. I know it is because with COVID and everything, I have a 9-to-5 job, so I wasn't able to get to this right away. Plus, they dropped 3 episodes, like, right off the bat, which really set me for a loop. And I wasn't able to get to it until just now. So, sorry about that. But so, the last time that we saw the Doom Patrol, they defeated Mr. Nobody, and they are teeny tiny. But real quick before I get started, I just want to say that if you like what I do and you enjoy independent content here on YouTube, please consider subscribing to my channel. YouTube recently did a fix, or they changed up their algorithm, and it really doesn't benefit independent content creators like myself. It just benefits big corporations and stuff. So if you could please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing my videos, I would greatly appreciate that, and I thank you in advance. So let's get on to this review. It's going to be a short one, and I'm going to touch on each episode very short because like I said, these episodes have been out for a while, and so I want to get through this review and not take up too much of your time. So I want to talk about the characters and the actors that play them. So first off, Niles Calder, the Chief, he's played by Timothy Dalton. I have to say, he's really good. I mean, I don't know how much they spent on him, but the money was well spent because I think that he is such a good actor, and he does this character justice. I think that he's absolutely one of my, well, they're all really great. There's really only one character that and we'll get to that in just a second. But yeah, so I really like, I like what he's doing as far as acting goes, and I really like the character also, even with all of his flaws, which we'll talk about that in just a second also. The next one I want to talk about is Rita Farr, who's played by April Dulby. She is doing such a good job and everything. I think that she's one of my favorite characters on this show. I love that in this season so far she was starting to gain her confidence and starting to really become, like a superhero. I still don't like her power set. In the comic book, she just gets really big, but in this, she's more like a Clayface / Mr. Fantastic kind of mixture, so I don't know, but we'll see going forward what they do with her, but I just love her so much. She does such a good job. Next is Matt Boomer, or Boomer. Anyways, he plays Negative Man, and he also does such a good job. I mean, I can't say enough good things about these people and everything. Brendan Fraser plays Mr. Robot / Cliff Steele, and he's my favorite part of episode 1 and everything. I really think he's doing such a phenomenal. I know he's not playing the actual physical part of the Mr. Robot part. He does play the Cliff Steele parts, obviously. But as far as the Mr. Robot parts go, he's not playing that. It's a different actor, but he does such a good job. I just want to real quick say that my favorite part of all 3 of these episodes is definitely with Mr. Robot in the first episode, when him and Niles get into this argument because Niles had killed his wife or whatnot, and he's like, I don't forgive you. I'm paraphrasing all of this. And he's like, I'm going to go kill some rats, and Niles is all like, just killing rats, you're not going to fill that hole, or you're trying to keep filling that hole or whatnot. And then I love how he comes back and he's wearing the rat like fur coat, and he's all like, hole filled, and I'm like, oh my god, that's so good. That was my favorite part of all 3 episodes. It made me laugh out loud, and I really liked it. So then the next one that I want to talk about is Victor Stone, aka Cyborg. I really do like Jovian Wade, who plays him. He does such a good job. I have to admit, I'm a little bored with his character and what's going on with him in these 3 episodes, but I do think Jovian Wade does such a good job, and I really like Cyborg in the show. Now, the only one that I don't really care for acting-wise is Diane Guerrero as Crazy Jane. Now, to say that, I think that she does a good job with Jane, but it's the other personalities that I don't think she does a good job with. Even from season 1, I've never thought she does a good job with her transfers into. They're trying to do this Orphan Black thing, but it's Orphan Black light. It's not. It just doesn't do the one thing when she does Baby Doll, that really bothers me. So I just a small piece of me just wants to be like it's so like I don't know how to explain it off the top of my head, but I just don't think that her personality is that she does a good job. So the new addition to this season is Dorothy, and I didn't write down the actress's name in my notes. That's should have done that. That's my bad. But she's doing such a good job. I really like Dorothy so far. I love the angst and the you can see the tension building up in her, and I love that like when is she going to give in? I'm excited to see that. So getting on to the episodes. Episode 1, it starts off with Dorothy, and she's in a cage, and she's like in a circus, and she lets out one of her imaginary friends, and then a different imaginary friend. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the candle maker or the wish maker or whatnot. She lets him out, and he kills everybody and everything. So then we're in present day, and Larry tries in vain to restore Dorothy, Niles, and the whole team, and Danny to their normal size, because they're all teeny tiny. Now, while the rest of the team deals with personal problems, Rita learns to use her powers. So Rita suggests Calder call Willoughby Kipling for help, and he's basically just Constantine light. I mean, it's fine. Anyway, Calder initially is against this idea of calling Willoughby. Calder eventually gives in, and Kipling agrees to help in exchange for Calder's most valuable possession, and that's this little amulet that grants him immortality, and that's how he's able to stay alive, which I'll talk about in just a second. Which at first he doesn't want to give up, but he does. And then Willoughby says something about how like it's costing him something to make them big and everything. And then the group is returned to their normal size, minus Danny, who remains the form of a brick. And then afterwards, Vic leaves the Doom Manor, and then Dorothy overhears Calder talking about Kipling, about his condition. And then later, the voice calls out to her once more, telling her to make a wish to save her father, but she refuses to comply. And I like how it's constantly, like tempting her to, hey, make a wish, and she's just like, no, I won't do it and everything. And I really like that. I really like that whole thing. So moving on to episode 2, Calder reveals to the group that his deal with Kipling and works to find new ways to prolong his life in order to protect Dorothy. And that's just basically like he wants to live forever because Dorothy is trapped at 11 years old, and she has the power to bring out this Wishmaker character to destroy the world. So then Rita learns that Calder wants to use continuanium, and the alien element that controls time. And currently in possession of the continuanium is Dr. Jonathan Time. And then Rita, Cliff, and Jane travel to Time's dimension with Calder's help, but fails to recover the element, and they go to this like roller ring trapped in this specific date in the 80s in August or whatever. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. And they like knock Dr. Time's head off, and then they end up fixing him, and then he tells Rita that he sees her time, like her future and everything, and that she always fails. She's always a failure. And it makes me wonder if he just said that to be a jerk or if he meant it. So then we hop over to Detroit, where Vic attends a PTSD therapy group meeting, So then we hop over to Detroit, where Vic attends a PTSD therapy group, and he meets Ronnie Evers, a military veteran who he bonds with over the loss of their mothers. And then Larry goes to attend his son Gary's funeral and reveals himself to his other son, Paul. Now, Larry later visits Gary's home, where he finds several mementos of him kept by Gary in a shed. And it's really sad because his older son, Paul, says that, they're like conspiracy theorists or whatnot. And the son Gary was very obsessed with his father and what happened to him. And he's like, my father didn't die, all this other stuff and everything. And then Paul says in there, and this is I thought I was going to cry. But he says, if Gary knew that killing himself would have brought you back. He would have done it a lot sooner. And I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember. And that really was so sad. That I was so sad that he wanted to see his dad and prove his dad was, something happened to his dad and his dad was still alive or whatnot. So bad that he would have killed himself over it. And he ended up doing it. It was really sad. And as a dad, I really connected with that portion of it. So then Larry takes a walk back home. He is then captured by a flock of butterflies, which leads us into episode 3, which starts off with that in 1988, a young Calder witnesses the murder of a woman at the hands of Red Jack, an interdimensional being who feeds on pain under the guise of Jack the Ripper. And it also shows him how he's like Calder is like a pickpocket or whatnot, and he does this sleight of hand kind of thing. So then we jump to the present day, and Red Jack delivers a letter to Calder along with a piece of Larry's bandages, demanding his appearance. And then Calder and Rita agree to go together to save Larry. Now, Red Jack attempts to convince Calder to be his apprentice in exchange for immortality, but upon refusal, decides to unleash pain on him, as well as Rita and Larry, who were separated from him. So Calder then manages to kill Red Jack and end the suffering for all 3 of them. Now, while home alone, Dorothy plays hide and seek with her imaginary friends and Danny. But a mishap causes her to drop Danny to the floor, breaking them in half. Later then, while attempting to fix Danny, Calder begins drawing up a blueprint for Robotman 2.0. Cliff and Jane go back to Claire's house, his daughter, where Cliff attempts to tell her the truth, but ends up scaring her and causing her to call the police. Now, while sleeping on the bus, Jane's other personalities confront her, eventually demanding that she either leave the manor or lose her status as the primary personality. Now, on the way back, she ends up being locked up as the other personalities prepare to take over. Vic and Ronnie end up having a sexual encounter, but Ronnie refuses to enter a serious relationship. Vic asks Ronnie out on a date later that night, but she does not show up. She stands him up and everything. She sends him an email detailing her previous criminal records in hopes of convincing him not to pursue her. This part was so boring, and I could care less. Cyborg Storyline so far this season does not interest me in any way, shape, or form. If you know the comic books, which I didn't know very much because I don't read a lot of Doom Patrol, but this ends up being this Ronnie Evers in the comic books is a man. They gender bent it, and he ends up becoming an enemy of Cyborg. So, in conclusion to this, in these 3 episodes, this show is so good, you guys. It is crazy good. It's weird, but it's good. It's a good weird. And I really like it a lot. Now, I've never read, I've read some Doom Patrol comic books, but not really. Like, I've read like 2, and I barely remember any of them. But I think that this is such a good show, which is so refreshing because a lot of the comic book shows that are out right now suck, in my opinion. And it's just really nice to see, a show take the weirdness of the comic book and transfer it into a show, and that they do it in such a way that it's unique to this show and it's so good. So, tell me, what did you guys think about these 3 episodes of Doom Patrol? Which was your favorite part? Who was your favorite character? What part did you not like? What character did you not like? Which out of these 3 episodes was your favorite? I'd have to say my favorite was probably the 3rd one, just because I think that's where the most stuff happened, and everything. Yeah, like I said, just go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on the next video. You guys have a good day. Bye.